Welcome to the Fabcast episode 8, Permission-Based Promo, featuring Josie Donnelly, VP of Sales at Cultivate. Today we discuss shifts in branded merchandise, which may not be about choosing between swag and premium gifting, but more about aligning audience, context, culture, intention, usefulness, and emotional relevance to create experiences people genuinely welcome into their lives. Welcome, Josie. So, before we get started, may we ask you to share a little with our listeners where Cultivate's specialties lie?
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. When I think about Cultivate, and this would not be our marketing answer, but it's mine, is that I think about peace of mind. I've spent 25 years being on the sales side of it and knowing what it's like to put on great events and keep exceptional employees and show people you love them and care about them. And it's not an easy job. It's hard. It's hard in today's corporate world. It's hard to have it, as you were saying, whether it's branded, does it align with your culture? Does it give you a sense of pride, or are you annoyed? And there's a lot of ways to go wrong, whether it's a promotional product or a more high-end product. It doesn't matter. It's usually not the dollar amount that matters the most. And so my goal and our goal at Cultivate is really to help our clients, whether that is a meeting planner or a sales VP that wants to show love to amazing sales reps they want to keep on board for a long, long time because it's hard to find great sales reps, or an HR leader that wants to show you that an anniversary matters at a company, especially in today's age. And we want to make their job really easy. And we want to help them do it exceptionally well because you're spending the dollars, don't just let it fly out the window. And so I take a lot of pride in us giving them peace of mind on executing a program, whether it's online or on site, that helps them show love and appreciation, and not in a cheesy way, in a thoughtful way that aligns with the company's values. And if at the end of the day, I have a meeting planner that says, wow, and I had one last night, I just got home from Oklahoma City. She said, that was so easy. I didn't even think about you guys. I'm like, yes, thank you. If you told me that, that means we have won. So that is our mission.
That's also so exciting to get feedback like that. And when they do give it, it means that they were really, truly wowed. So let's dig in. If we consider that the business of promo is broad enough to include like everything from practical conference giveaways to highly curated gifts, which is more what you do, the real question may not be the category itself, but how intentionally the experience is designed, which Cultivate is very much all about that. So first of all, we're going to explore, has the audience changed? If and how the audience has changed over the years. Do you think audiences today are becoming more selective about what brands they allow into their lives?
There are so many answers to that question. One of them is, yes, I think so. I think, isn't it odd as I'm getting older, it used to feel like anything freebie you could get, you just wanted to put in your bag. And maybe this sounds elitist. I don't mean it to. I don't think people are like that as much anymore. I think it is thoughtful about what you're grabbing. Do I need this? Do I want this? Will I use this? Do I have somebody in my life that will use this? Is it locally sourced? Do they give back to the community? Is it a fabric that matters and isn't going to just be pollution? They care about, you mentioned culture. If we're going to put branding on it, how does it make you show up with pride? And I love this example. We used to give polar fleece hoodies to my team that was out on the road, and it had our company name on it, and they wore them all the time because it was cold and you were unpacking boxes and you're proud of wearing that, and you wear it to the grocery store too. And so I think there is a lot of thought when we talk to clients that the mindset is shifting from just give me stuff to give me something that made me think you put a little bit of time into it. And I do not believe that means that every person cares about the value or the dollar amount of the gift. I think it cares about, were you thoughtful about it? And it's challenging. If you take a 1,300 person event and you have to be thoughtful about every single gift, you have to change up the way that you do that. And I also think that our world is moving towards experiences. And by that, I mean, I've probably been on multiple events in the last couple of months where we're doing a shoe design. And it's less about the shoes that you ultimately get with, but let me tell you a story. So I was at an event in Curacao, And I was standing there, and there were three women from Site Global. One woman was designing shoes because her son's school team colors were yellow and green, I believe, and she couldn't wait to wear them to every one of his games. There was a gentleman who it was almost Mother's Day, and he was actually designing them in red and pink for his wife who had breast cancer twice and was on FaceTime with her picking the style. There was a gentleman who was on with his daughter because she was helping him pick the cool ones because he's like, I don't know. And I thought, you know what? This is actually what this is about, is this connection to people in their lives. And they're looking over and they're like, Valerie, what color are you getting? I don't know. I like it. And I thought that's really the truth of this, is that experiences, thoughtfulness, gifts that you, whether it's a small group or a big group, that you put some time and effort into, and things that matter that are not just another, I hate to say it, but polar or water bottle. Nobody wants that now. So those are the changes that I'm seeing. And I know I've only been in this role for a year, but I also have been on the other side of gifting as a sales VP for 25 years. And so picking gifts and trying to understand my sales team and what matters to them, I do have some insight into what has evolved over time. And so that's what I've seen.
Yeah, totally.
I,
And I,
I oh, I gotta defend water bottles now.
Yeah.
Oh no. I only see that because my husband is like, we got 901. You got to stop picking up the water bottle.
But it's no different. But it's no different than a gift, because the water bottle is, it's how are you designing it for the experience? That's the promo people feeling, in that's me projecting the inferiority complex.
and then me as a designer now is going, and for communication, I'm going like, look at that water bottle. If it does have a complete wraparound possibility for communication, and if it was beautifully designed with something that meant something, then that water bottle is a carrier of messaging as opposed to just like a logo. So
Right.
and again, and I think that that's really, it's the item. It's like the medium is not the message. The medium is a carrier of the message, and if the message is right, then the medium, obviously the medium matters. But again, it's like, what is the opportunity to communicate on this thing or through this thing? And sometimes too many water bottles are too many water bottles. But if you get the right one and it's thoughtful and it's intentional, I think it can be said about everything. It can really work and move the needle.
Here's the equivalent. I would
Mhm.
say in Josie's world, how many pairs of sunglasses does one company need to give to their employees or their channel partners? And the answer is like what we were struggling with. How many mugs does one company need? Well, the answer is you need as many as you need, depending upon what you're trying to do. Because if you are a company who's literally changing everything about how you do business because you're going to go AI native, you need to project a big vision, and you need to give people the tools to see that vision and see far out. And so maybe instead of Josie doing a Ray-Ban experience, she's doing a vision experience with binoculars, because we got to talk about people seeing things differently, close up, far away. And it's no longer just a sunglass experience, it's literally a vision program. And so this is when you get a designer and someone who interacts with the customer like Josie, and who isn't afraid to ask, you know, challenging questions of them, like, hey, do you want to challenge the status quo, or do you just want to like play it safe? Like that's a scary freaking question, but that's what changes everything. And then designers get to listen, and then makers and organizers and systems people get to play their role. And then, people like me who are just the recipient of whatever that decision is, I either buying in and I'm saying these guys made the effort, or I'm like, yeah, no, they phoned it in. Like this was like, could you have done any less work? And I think that is where Cultivate, can bring. So right now it's really the gift side of life, but if imagine Josie and her team could go through amenities and awards and like the whole, to her point, the whole experience, not just, hey, we have premium goods, but like we literally can design whatever you're trying to convey. And that to me takes someone like Josie, it takes someone like Lori, and it takes someone like Carlo, and then also some, angry elf like me who just wants to see this thing get done better.
So can I Can I interrupt to ask Josie a question then based on that? Because you are so connected to the client and so connected to the discovery process in terms of what you can do for them, right? So if we thought about, this idea of permission-based promo, the idea that you're kind of earn an invitation into somebody's life, right? What does that mean to you? What is the idea of permission-based promo or gifting work in how you deal with your clients and the questions you ask, Josie? Because you're like really in the field.
I think it depends if it's a brand new client or an existing client. Do you have a foundation of trust? Because you can ask different questions when you have a relationship with them. And that's why I believe so much in a partnership. And if you have built this level of trust that you will execute and be operationally excellent and listen and be there when things don't go great, because there are times they don't, then the questions are different. But I think the common denominator across both of those are, where are you? Tell me what matters to you. What's a success look like in the next 6 months for you? What are you worried about? What is terrifying for you? What is the biggest challenge you're trying to fix? And to go to the water bottles as an example, I had a client that said, we have a culture problem with our employees and I don't know how to fix this. And Jamie and I just had a conversation about water bottles and taking your core values and in a new hire, giving them a waterproof sticker and they can pick one of 6, right? And put it on their water bottle. And I'm telling you, they were picking up water bottles on these calls and they had it on there. And so I think Jamie's right, asking these really hard questions that get to what is worrying them, not just what makes you look great and what means I'm going to close the business. Like, what keeps you up at night? What are you not finding out with your partners that we could actually potentially help you with? What are your business goals? So not just yours either as a meeting planner. What are your clients' goals? Are they trying to grow their business 2x year over year? Okay, that's a different goal than I need to retain more of my employees, my star employees. Is AI taking over your company and every employee's terrified of their job being lost? Okay, that's a different thoughtful way to approach this. And I think connecting this really powerful and meaningful things that are happening in a business life, whether it's their employees or their clients, and then tying that and saying, this is a thoughtful way to take an experience or a product that sends a message, like a pair of binoculars, like a timepiece, if you're celebrating out years that you're spending at a company. They are intentional and they're thoughtful and they're sending a message. And it's quiet at first, right? But you just continue to, for you marketers, like it's the drip campaign of your employees and clients. So I do believe that the heart of being a really good partner is asking the hard questions and knowing who your audience is and which questions you can push on and which you shouldn't. And when you should continue to say, tell me more. I'm not sure I completely understand. Tell me more. And that is when you get great success across the board.
I have a question for you, Josie, about your job.
Yeah.
What aspects of your job do you dislike?
Well, my brain goes to which ones I like first, because I'll tell you, I just came off of 2 days with clients and my team members and just fills me with so much joy. I dislike being disconnected from my clients. And I have had a project that I had to spend basically 2 days with a spreadsheet and data. There are people for that. That is not mine. I do not like that. But that's a personality thing. I don't like repeating mistakes. I think that is a really big waste of time. And I really dislike when we don't listen to clients and we try to prove that we're smarter than them. I think that is a terrible way to run a business. Like you cannot think that you're smarter than the people that you need to serve. And if you do, you will miss things. And then fourth, I would say I've worked for multiple PE companies, and every conference that I've gone to, they talk about the shareholder being the most important, right? And I get that. I understand Wall Street. My husband has a hedge fund. Like I get it. And then the client and then your employee. And I totally disagree with that. I think if you take care of your employees and you serve them well, and I do not mean just money and perks. I mean, you challenge them, you recognize them, you hold them accountable, they feel heard and they feel empowered. Guess what? Those people take great care of your clients. And when your clients feel loved and heard and trust you, the rest of the money stuff is going to sort itself out. And so I think I have just a bit of a different philosophy on how to think about people. And so I don't like days when I don't think we're putting people first.
Yeah. Like it's funny when we were talking about permission and the may issue and may I, and that was, Lori piecing together, the seasonality and the calendar and what we want to talk to people about. And I think the permission that you have to ask for in absence of, the time that you need to build trust, maybe in conventional ways, asking permission changes the entire conversation.
So
Yeah.
I just, Lori, I actually have an example for you. We are trying to get into a new vertical, and I don't know enough about this vertical. And I have put a call into 3 prospects that are in San Diego. I live in San Diego. And when I left a message on there, 2 have called me back. I said, may I spend 15 minutes of your time, which I know is incredibly valuable, and buy you a cup of coffee? And may I ask you 10 questions with no sales pitch and no expectation, only 15 minutes. But that's what I did. I actually said, may I do that? And 2 of them said, absolutely. I said, fantastic. I will coordinate schedules. I will only plan 15 minutes. I will show up at your door. You don't even have to leave your desk. And I very much appreciate the time. And I received a much better response than if I tried to be silly or gimmicky or cheesy or just send them a bunch of emails. That doesn't seem to work, right? People value their time very much. And so asking for help and really that's what I was doing. I was just saying, I just need help from you and I want to learn from you. And if I could do that, I'd be entirely grateful for your time and I'd make it worth your while.
Especially with where the AI, people are talking to machines, you can't get a real person on the phone. So it's just like amazing to be, really heard and seen or asked. People love when you ask for their help or their opinion. I mean, and it just makes the conversation so much more fulfilling, especially what you were saying about your employees. And I totally agree with you about the employees first and how that actually profits everybody up to the shareholders if people started to look at it that way. And when you were saying about permission, is it seems to me you give permission to your employees to be great by challenging them. You give yourself permission to challenge things. And we in our industry, need to give ourselves permission to actually think of this industry as a much more valued, industry in terms of what it can do when it is thought about properly and when the intention is there. So I don't know why, but in this particular one, we're also completely going off script. I'm just going somewhere else right now. How does usefulness then and emotional connection work together in the most effective brand experiences when you are creating a package for your clients? Like something like Jamie was saying, there's usefulness of the items that you're thinking of giving, like what they would like, and then the emotional connection.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 things that I think about. One of them is from a usefulness standpoint, we use this word choice, and I think it can be good and bad. But I do think that if you have a group, usefulness means something different to each person. And you don't need to have 900 choices, but you may already have a lot of jackets and a backpack is what you need. Your backpack just, the strap just broke off of it, right? Or usefulness matters in a moment. And sometimes it's hard to know what that is for a person. So giving them a few choices. That usefulness could be this gentleman who stood next to me yesterday and had to leave on Mother's Day and wanted to buy his wife this bag that was on the site. That was useful to him because it showed his wife, who had given up her Mother's Day so he could come to this conference, that he loved her. That seems useful to me, right? And so this idea that you get to pick based on where your headspace is and know that you get to do that is pretty valuable. And I think the emotional part, I mean, I don't know. I was standing next to this man and I had like goosebumps on my arms thinking about him doing this for her. I think there's this memory that goes along with the gift. So I'll tell you the story. I worked at a startup for 17 years early in my career, and we had no money. Our CEO walked around and was like, Josie, you have 5 pencils? We have a new person starting. I need that pencil. That's how little money we had. And in the beginning, and we did little president's clubs, and they were, in Cabo. We shared rooms, the whole thing. We didn't care. We were just like, yes, we are doing this. And when we finally got to the point, we did Jack Spade bags in their rooms for room drop. And at that point, I planned the budget and I had them in the rooms. And I still have sales reps that send me pictures. This was 20 years ago. Like, Jose, look, I still got my Jack Spade, and I still take it on every work trip I go on. I think that's an emotional connection to how proud they felt in that moment, being a part of the success of the company getting to that place. They all got to bring a spouse or a guest for the first time. So like this person who had supported them. To me, that is when emotions come up. That is when it is not about this black bag. It is about this feeling they had in the moment. And I think if you can accomplish that with a client and understand those goals and create some of those experiences for the gentleman with getting a gift for his wife, or for a new sales rep that is so happy to be at this point in their career, that's winning, I think. So that's how I think about it. I'm not saying we can always do it, but that's what I want to achieve when I walk away from a successful program.
Is that cultivating? Is that what cultivating is? Is that
so? Right? I mean, I think it's like cultivating experiences and emotions, and cultivating company culture, and cultivating a culture of giving people permission to fail, and giving people permission to make decisions, and giving them permission, celebrating when they've done something really brave and courageous, or had it not just hit quota. So yeah, I think cultivating is the perfect word for what we're trying to do for our clients, and what I think they're trying to do for either their employees or for their guests.
it includes curation? It's not one or the other, and one is not, superior to the other, but curation is part of the process. I think design thinking is part of the process for sure. Design, systems design, graphic design, all sorts of design, emotional, organizational behavior design, like all the things. And then it comes back to like this experience I had at Cultivate with a UX designer who coined the term the happy path. And she's not customer facing, but her vision of what a happy path is for a client, I think aligns perfectly with what your vision of a superior experience is. Because in her mind, she can see each step that that person would take with you and how they cultivate this, larger project. And I know in her mind, at least in my mind, when she showed me it, is like, we're at this stage on the path right now, and you can't get to here unless you go through this. And if you do this and you make these decisions, this is the impact it's going to have on all these people. To me, like it's that big. Like all those, when she sees it, and she's like, this is when we serve cocktails.
Well, it's true, Jamie. And Lori, I think this asking permission is in every part of it. So for serving cocktails, we didn't serve cocktails, but the line got long, and I thought, okay, I don't love this. And it was at 7 o'clock at night or 6:30. So everybody's ready to go have a cocktail. And I thought, how do I make this easy for them? So guests are lined up. And I went out and said, may I interrupt you just for a moment? I would really like to share that tomorrow we're also going to be open. So you don't have to wait. You absolutely can. We're not running out of any products, so there's no rush to be in line, but we'd love for you to wait if you want to. Also, we're going to send out some links at the end of tomorrow. So even if you're fully in sessions, don't worry, you're not going to miss out. And so asking permission to just share information that then they could make a choice with, right? And I think you're right. People really respond to, may I share a little bit about what's happening with the line and what your options are? And to Jamie, your happy path is, how many of those can we predict and be ready for, which I think is a part of our responsibility for our clients. So happy path is what happens when 10 boxes of Olokai show up at the hotel and 12 are supposed to be there. Well, our journey on the happy path is to solve that problem for a client and make a plan. Either find the boxes, track them down, order more, go get bags, whatever. And so I really think as a part of a service company, because that is what we are. We are a service company. We are not a product company. We're a service company. If we think of the happy path and we think of what our clients' expectations are and how peace of mind will look for them at every single point, and then how their guest's happy path looks, right? I walk in, I get to pick my gift. It's easy. I maybe get a cup of coffee or a cocktail. I get a confirmation right away. It arrives to me in a reasonable amount of time. It has a thank you note. All those things, if we can think about all the pieces and not be intrusive and in their face, but rather proactively get ahead of them, I think that's when you make yourself valuable.
Could you imagine Carlo on site with he's a videographer, as he mentioned, and he's a photographer. And can you imagine him looking at these experiences?
Carlo, I want to have you at one of these events, listening to the stories and capturing it through your lens, because I'm giving you my emotional listening to them and sort of the people interaction, but it's so beautiful and so brilliant. And if we could put it in a way that I could communicate with our clients, not just me talking, I would like to do less talking and more showing them.
Remember, Carla, when we did the PPPC event, we were interviewing people and we put together all these little clips, and it was just so powerful. And you're right. Like if you took, I'm sure you film some of your events but if you really film them in a professional way where you got
to
the
get that
close-ups,
emotion,
where you got the
emotion.
close-ups and you got the faces and you got the wow and you got the interactions, then that is your story, right? That's all you need to, put on your social feeds and do testimonials and show people. But it's pretty powerful. And we had a lot of fun doing that.
Let me just add one thing to that, Lori. One of the pieces that I think is very hard to articulate is the final piece of this happy path, which is the impact of all of these items, right? So you can, or all these gifts and experiences, you could say what's your retention rate or what kind of thank yous. But I think being able to have if you're an event planner, you have a CEO, CRO company that's spending money with you, being able to transform that into, let me show you what this looked like, what this meant to your guests and to your employees. There's a missing piece for us that I would really like to solve, because wouldn't it be so cool if you're the CRO, which you don't get to spend time in the gifting suite, right? You're not there. But if you got to see the face, or talking about, who's like, this one guy was telling me, oh my gosh, I can't wait to make pizza with my grandkids. Yes, that's what I want to capture.
That would be phenomenal, right?
That's really what they care about and are spending money on. And I believe in being able to capture it in just a short video that is a montage of important moments and some of the emotion. Because I really do, that's what we're selling, the peace of mind along the way, but like this impact that you're going to have. And I think there's something there for sure.
Do you find that many organizations could still default to safe branded merchandise because it feels like an operationally easy or low risk? How do you help like internal stakeholders move beyond that mindset? Is that a stumbling block where people don't want the whole thing? They just want to, can't we just do something easy? The conversation may start with budget and logistics as opposed to like the audience experience. Is there
Yes.
not?
Oh, yeah. Yes, there is.
Okay.
It's a really good question. And I think it's one of the most critical parts of that discovery is understanding if this is a place that you can help them move out of what their vision of it is. And sometimes it's even the wife of a CRO loves this product, right? And so that's what we're going to get. And how much wiggle room do I have? Is it, I need to just go execute this because this is not changing? Or can I put a proposal together that says, fantastic, yes, and I am going to include Patagonia, and I am going to also, you told me that these are 3 goals for your event: to feel connected to the space, to feel like you're whatever the other 2 are. And so we'll try to also propose maybe 2 other options that they could potentially go. And we're always budget conscious. There are those that want a tried and true, have been burned in the past, want an experience you can tell me is going to go off without a hitch. So, right, if they tell me I have been burned twice, I am not proposing a brand new product to them. I am going to go find the one that is going to make sense, that we've done 100 times, that I can tell them you will have no issues. I have many clients now that I'm hearing more and more that say, what's new? We've done the same thing year after year. I want it to be something that is talked about. I want it to feel special and fresh. And what do you have? And so there is definitely an openness, but we have clients that are on the whole spectrum of, I know what I want, just go do that. Most of ours are somewhere in the middle. I have an idea, but I'm open to other ideas. And others that say, I do not know. This is not my specialty. This is what I would be paying you for. Let me tell you what's important to me, and you go help me figure out what it could look like, whether it's welcome packages, right, with a note from the CEO, preparing for the event, picking up in their welcome gifts what they're getting, what does a room drop look like versus what they go and pick out. So we're trying to be consultative on this part if they're open to it. But I would not say that this is probably 10%. This is about 50 or 60%, and this is the remainder.
So if brands were listening today and took away one mindset shift before launching their next branded merchandising initiative or event, what question should they ask themselves first?
Well, I think there's two. It goes back to, is it useful? I do believe that. Is there a use to it? Is it a backpack that I'm going to use and remember this experience? Is it a pizza stove? I think useful is important. And I think there's kind of this little bit of a wow factor and a little bit of how it's packaged and how special it feels. You can take a $40 product and still make it feel special. And you can include a story about where it was built. And a lot of people, if you have it in there that this is who we give back to, that matters to them. I think being thoughtful about use and about your story and about why it sets you apart is important.
Carlo is incredible sourcing in terms of just like whether it's a wow factor or something's really special or something unique, or you just need to pay attention to this. He's not a merchant. He's not a merchandising guy, but he can source like nobody's business. I think that there's a lot of alchemy in all of that.
It's interest, really. Things that I'm interested in. Today's search engines and with Instagram, it'll bring you what you're interested to your doorstep.
That is a sourcing strategy, Josie, like using Instagram or Pinterest or whatever tool can help drive sourcing expansion versus what we're used to, which is here's what the vendor has, here are the brands they have in house, and it's not big enough.
Yeah, or you just reverse engineer it. You come up with the ideas that you want, and then you look for products within your supplier chain that can actually fit that. And that's how we like to source. If you look at our April issue on luxury as sustainability, and you see stories like the Rego and Bean London story about turning knives into narrative, where the real story is about these pieces transforming materials tied to waste and violence, and now they become these beautiful bags, and knives have become the hardware on these bags. That's pretty cool. Or if you look at the DHL example, where they took the world of Formula One, where they often sponsor, and they took retired banners from the races around the globe, and they created a very tightly curated, limited edition collection of bags, wallets, and travel pieces. That was pretty cool and very much on brand. So again, it's just to look at how can the companies that we're working with take these ideas as inspiration and create pieces that build a narrative that is synergetic with their business, with the goals that they want to achieve, with a relatable cause or story that their customers would care about. And that is the challenge in creating meaningful gifting or promotional communications. And it can be extremely powerful when just given a little thought.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
I think all my clients would swoon over these ideas. It is new and fresh and different and something they haven't seen. it matters when it's something that has an impact. The story itself
Yes,
about a product is so incredibly impactful.
I agree.
And it is where we can align with something that matters to their company. I'm going to make it up, but if it's like we're fighting domestic violence, and then it's okay, here's what we're doing with these, or there's a real need for it not just being a product and actually having it connect.
I just want to say, from hearing you speak, you have such an excitement for what you do. And especially like the whole process of finding the right gift, seeing the excitement when the person receives it.
Carla, thank you. I appreciate that very much. It's not made up. I promise you. Like, I'm actually this weirdly excited about what I
believe it.
do
I
and
know.
life.
You can't make it up. You
You
can't
can't
make
make
it
it
up.
up. That's authentic. That's
I have
authentic.
the proof right here.
I
Yes.
do.
That's it.
I don't know that either.
But honestly, Josie, here's what I would tell you. On your plan, like, so it said, okay, we got a plan, right? We can't plan unless we know what outcomes the customers are trying to realize. And we can't start executing or even fixing execution until they know about what we do and we know about them. And this is the whole thing, is like you're a catalyst. It says it started on a napkin. Like, you don't need anything more than this really thoughtful approach that then, pervades everything to the extent how Carlo just described it. And then the question is how do you scale that to basically unlock the essence of the brand so that people like us can go to work? That's the process. And so I think Fabulist, it's a journey, and we'll help a lot of people along the way. But what I will tell you is you helped us a lot today by just being exactly who you are and sharing your perspective. And I think your honesty around how you help people, and that's going to make us even better at what we do.
Thank you. Can I add one final thing, which is that napkin was a sales enablement tool. It was a way to teach my team how to articulate the value that we provide to our clients in a really thoughtful, easy way that they could do over and over again. And they could draw it on a napkin if they were sitting next to somebody on a plane. And I know that's old school, but I still believe in it. Or standing in a booth if they wanted to talk to somebody, or even if it just was in their head and they never drew it. And the whole intent is then to pass that to my marketing team, like you, Lori and Carlo, and be able to say, okay, now my team can talk about this, but how do we take that and translate it into the website and into our materials and into the presentations we put together? Those are the next steps I want to take, is what I believe in. And I do believe in this. And then how do I go help my clients in whatever form they look like, take it to the next level?
It's a gift to do this work. Like, it's a gift to sit with you. So we can end on that note, and then we can see where this goes, because I got a feeling it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lori has a really nice wrap up
Do I
too.
have a wrap up? Okay, yes, let's do that. Anyways, it was amazing meeting you.
I have a million more questions that have to happen over probably a glass of wine, but we'll make that happen at some point. So
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Like, you brought so many thoughtful perspectives to us today and to this conversation. We want to say, on behalf of all of us here, to our audience listening, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Fabcast. And until next time, have yourselves a fabulous day.